Hello, my name is Zachariah Van Sliders, the Old Man Gaming, and this is another horrible review. And as we started off every time, let's do the disclaimers. Number one, I do not get paid for this, so I'm not going to go back and edit if you hear some weird background noises or I cut out or whatever, just because I don't do this professionally. Number two, I do not give scored reviews. I do not believe that scored reviews are right for video games. I think they're one of the most subjective forms of art, and therefore, I'm going to give you my pros, my cons, an overview of the game, and then I'm going to tell you whether or not I'm going to continue to play it or stick with it. Number three, I do not play the game fully. If you want a super in-depth technical review, you're going to have to go to another place. This is kind of an everyman's review. I get a few hours with this, sometimes more, and that's what I base it on. So this is a very first impressions review. So you have been warned. That being said, today we are doing a review on GameSpac's exclusive game from the same makers who brought you Oxenfree, Afterparty. This game is a perfect example of why I do not give scored reviews, and we'll get to that in the pros and cons. But first, let's do the overview. The overview is this is a dark comedy game in which two 20-something characters find themselves dead and in hell. They find out that the only way to get out of hell is to out-party the Lord Satan himself. To do this, this takes the form of kind of like a bar crawl. They have to do tasks at each bar crawl to get to Satan to actually challenge him. Each little section is a different bar that gives you different drinks, and then that usually culminates in some form of mini game / drinking game that you have to win to get further in the game to get closer to actually challenging Satan. One of the coolest things about this game, one of the most innovative, is, as I said, there's no real combat in this game. It's really a social experience sort of thing. However, each place you go to has a certain alcoholic menu, basically. You can get a drink, and then these drinks, drinking them gives you different social options to use during the conversations to kind of change your storyline, such as some of them are almost purely comedic. There's one that makes you talk like a pirate. There's another that gives you liquid courage, that gives you more like confidence when talking. Another one that makes you flirty, which is a very interesting take on the game itself. Through the course of this journey, the two friends, they kind of have a very complicated relationship, and you get to see how that relationship works between the two of them and how they deal in the crisis situations. And then there's a ton of jokes about hell and heaven. There's in this kind of material, it's a very classic trope of, you know, the bad guys aren't as always bad and the good guys aren't as good. It's an interesting cast of characters. The voice acting is very good, very amazing. And the game itself only takes about 5-6 hours, so I actually did finish a full playthrough on this one, which was exciting. So, let's get to the pros. First of all, this game is absolutely brilliantly written. I was entertained by every piece of dialogue. I was never bored, even though I wasn't fighting anything. And the story itself has a lot of mysteries and a lot of twists, even though it's a lot of laughs and a lot of funny moments. It does also get serious at times, which is welcomed changes, but the funny kind of leads you to a point where it almost makes the emotional stuff matter that much because everything else is taken so tongue-in-cheek. And then, at least for my playthrough, and I won't spoil anything, there was a big twist on the last challenge that made things very, very interesting, and it was something that I wasn't expecting, and in video games, for me to not be expecting a story beat at all, to be completely surprised, that was a pleasant surprise for me. Another pro is the drinking system is extremely fun, and I think it's an extremely creative way to do things. I would have liked it to have a little bit more impact on playing and the story itself at large, but the fact that, like, you could take a swig of something and get more dialogue options, that it actually altered the game, was just very cool to me. It's a very cool and interesting way to do things. So let's switch over to the cons real quick. Let's go negative. And the reason I said in the beginning that this is the perfect example of why I don't give out scored reviews is because if I was scoring this game based on the story, the content of writing, and the ideas behind it, this game would be a 10 out of 10. But if I was scoring it on the technical aspects of the game, it would get barely above a 3. And what I mean by this is the game has quite a bit of bugs, and it has serious detrimental frame rate dropouts, which surprised me for how small a game it is, for how compact and independent a game it is. I would expect it to work a little bit more cleaner than it did. So, to give you a couple of examples, and I didn't actually get any examples captured, unfortunately, but I had one bug where one of the demon characters that you travel around with a lot got her arms stuck, raised above her head, and just I was walking around, she couldn't, the character model wouldn't put it down. I had to reset out to get that back in. And some of these bugs actually kind of ruin some of the more emotional parts. There's a scene where the two friends are talking together towards the end and sorting some very serious stuff out. And one of the characters was floating in the air 3 feet away from the bar stool she was supposed to be sitting at, which kind of took you out of the realism and the emotion of the moment, which kind of bummed me out. The other thing, the performance really bothered me because, as I said, there's no real combat in this game. There's no real action in this game. The game is mostly dialogue options. However, there are some crucial mini-games in the form of the drinking games, and then I think at one part you can participate in a dance contest. The dance contest specifically, I missed button prompts because my game's frame rate and performance would drop out for a second when I was pressing the button. And that's you just can't have that. You just can't have that in a game like this. When the only times you're supposed to be pressing these buttons, it's somehow failing. That's a problem. That needs to be addressed, and I need to give it a negative. So like I said, technically there are some serious issues in this game that people might find annoying. There was more than a few frame rate dropouts too, to the point where I thought the game had crashed and was getting up to press the power off button on my Xbox when it started moving again. So, just things to be aware of when playing it. So, that transitions right into the stick with it. And to stick with it, is all those things enough for you to not play it? And I would say no. I think this game is totally worth being played. I actually, at some point, would like to play it a second time to see how much I can get a different story out of it. There seems to be a lot of alternate possibilities, and as there is a demon who is represented in the voice credits that I never even met in my playthrough, I think that there are going to be some good options for different endings and different branching paths. Also, the writing here is second to none. I think this is a master class on independent video game writing for a game that is purely dialogue. And this is one of those games that really elevates the games to art sort of example. So I think it's definitely worth playing. I think anybody out there with Games Pass can pick it up for free right now and give it a try. And it's not long. Like I said, you'll beat it in a couple of sittings, if not one. And it's really, you'll enjoy it from start to finish, with the exception of probably some technical issues that you'll have. But okay, so that's been my horrible review of Afterparty for Xbox One. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. And as I always say, as long as you guys keep watching them, I'll keep making them. Till next time.
Did you enjoy that horrible content? Well, there's more horrible content all over this channel. You can check out our horrible podcasts, or you can check out our other horrible reviews. Be sure to subscribe and turn notifications on, and then we'll let you know when horrible products are ready for you to view. You can also do so at Facebook, Old Man Gaming, and then we can notify you in 2 different places. Fun! Also, click any of the links around you to witness some of that horrible programming right now. I mean, why do anything else? It's YouTube.